Good morning, Cardinals fans, and welcome into the morning scramble. We are rehashing this Cardinals 31-21 loss to the Panthers. A little roll call first. Lisa Matthews, Kyle Odegard, Jody Jackson, and Felipe Corral here with you. Let's get right into the main dish, guys. Well, too many missed tackles, missed opportunities, never really seemed to wake up in this game, seemed out of rhythm. I know it's a 10 a.m. start time, but really not an excuse because the Cardinals do practice at 8 in the morning, and then they're going to be facing the Jets next week, another 10 a.m. start. But Kyle, what was the most glaring factor in this loss for you?
Yeah, you mentioned the defense, but to me it was on offense, the lack of a passing game. And I thought going into the game that the Cardinals would do a nice job against a Panthers secondary that has some youth and not a bunch of stars in that group, but for whatever reason, it never clicked. Only averaged 4.3 yards per pass attempt, which is extremely low. And there's a lot of horizontal stuff, and there wasn't much yards after catch. So I feel like the Cardinals couldn't throw the ball downfield in this game, and it really hamstrung them to a point where offensively, now the question is, are they going to be able to be as good as everyone thought? Because we're 4 games in, and they haven't reached that level of explosiveness yet. Jody, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I agree with you on a few fronts with the offense. When they missed on those early big plays, they just never seemed to go back to it. And obviously they were in a hole. But a couple things really big picture with this. I think it's disappointment after what they supposedly learned last week against the Lions and not being able to kind of come back and learn from that. And then hearing Kyler Murray talk after the game, I guess it wasn't a surprise. We all watched it. We all saw what happened out there, which is that the Cardinals did not look ready to go. They got in the hole early, and the defense just couldn't seem to get off the field to allow that offense to come back into the game. And when Kyler said that everyone looked a little bit sluggish out there, again, it's no excuse, but they did look like they were affected by, maybe it was the road, maybe it was the early start, maybe for whatever reason, I hope it wasn't overconfidence thinking, okay, well, we did learn from the Lions. Now, we're going to go out and execute this. And then they did the opposite. They just really didn't execute. And then the big takeaway, I think I know I'll be talking about it a little bit later, is that Budda Baker is very much missed out there in so many ways. And that's something that, they knew going into that game. They knew they weren't going to have him. And they did not look able to compensate with a lot of confusion out there. Felipe, what about you? What did you take away from this loss?
So this is the morning scramble, right? And I don't know about you guys, but when I don't have my cup of coffee, my morning is just, it messes all up. And I feel like that's what missing Budda Baker was for the Cardinals. And I can confidently say at least 14 of those 31 points was due to the miscommunication by their safeties. And they gave up 4 different plays of 20 yards or more. And I think they're truly missing Budda Baker, and hopefully Chris Banjo and Jalen Thompson come back pretty soon. But aside from that, this defensive line was pretty quiet yesterday. I know before the show we were talking about Chandler Jones, like, where you at, bro? I know last week I mentioned, where you at, Patrick Peterson? This week I'm like, where you at, Chandler Jones? And obviously they miss Devon Kennard this week. So hopefully that defensive line makes a little bit more noise next week. Lisa?
Yeah, definitely tough to swallow this loss when you look at all the missed opportunities in yesterday's game. All right, it's time to get into that bites. We choose a specific part of the game that just made you shake your head. It was no bueno in this one. Kyle, what bites for you?
I'm going to the very beginning of the game when Kyler Murray had a wide open Larry Fitzgerald, and it seemed like at the very least that was going to be a 20-yard gain and kind of kick off a really nice drive for the Cardinals as they tried to get off to a nice start. And Kyler Murray airmailed Larry Fitzgerald for whatever reason, and then that drive bogged down, and really the Cardinals didn't get anything going for quite a while. So there was a lot of talk heading into the game about trying to get Larry Fitzgerald more involved after he had 0 receiving yards in the previous game against the Lions. And the fact that he's wide open, it should have been an easy pitch and catch, and it doesn't happen. To me, that was a bad start, and it was certainly a sign of things to come because that passing game never got going. And for the second week in a row, Larry Fitzgerald never got going. Jody, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was what Lisa touched on starting off the show, just the lack of tackling. Because look, when this team was 2-0, we were singing the praises of the defense. And yeah, some big issues with the safety depth and missing Kennard yesterday. But look, there were other guys out there that were part of that 2-0 start, and they just missed tackles. They didn't do their job. And that's something that they're going to see on the film and hopefully be shocked and hopefully not have that happen again, because you kind of thought, okay, this is a defense that's kind of on a mission this year after some of what we saw last year. I mean, you look at some of these plays, they're just getting blocked. They're not able to make the play. I saw, Chandler Jones on one in particular where you're just thinking, just gotta fundamentally tackle some of these. You saw Davis have a big day, the backup running back as well, and Anderson ran all over in the secondary. So just ugly. They may want to watch it and then burn it, because boy, that film does not lie when you see that, and maybe you can chalk it up to they were sluggish, and you're going to learn from that as well. But boy, I hope you only have one of those all season long, because it really cost them this week in a winnable game. Felipe, what about you?
For me, it's that Kyler Murray fumble in the third quarter. I feel like, Carolina got that quick 3-and-out coming out of the half, and everything seemed to be clicking on offense for the Cardinals on that specific drive. And, that fumble kind of took the air out of the ball. And it's more, to me, a reflection of, that offensive line yesterday specifically. They couldn't get the run game going. You couldn't get the pass game going. Aside from that 49-yard run by Kyler Murray, that run game was nowhere to be found. So I think this game specifically, the offensive line didn't necessarily show up, but yeah, it was a momentum changer for the Panthers once again. It was an opportunity for the Cardinals to get back into it and click on offense and all of that. But, at the end of the day, it didn't happen. So, Lisa?
Yeah, Felipe, I just kept feeling like, okay, things are going to start clicking here. You're just waiting for things to all come together, for them to wake up, and then they would answer back. The Panthers would answer back. So that was really disheartening throughout the entire game. Now, for me, what bites was third down defense. Going into yesterday's game, they were atop of the NFL, only allowing 28.6%, I believe. Yesterday, they allowed 64%. That was 7 of 11 on third down conversions. So they continually just let the Panthers extend too many drives. They had at least 6 or more drives that were 60 yards or more. So they just allowed them to control the game, control the tempo, the time of possession, and the defense just couldn't figure out a way to just get off the field. And that's, for me, was, going into this game after week, we were seeing, the first 2 weeks, we were seeing this defense dominate and have the praise of being the top of the NFL third down defense, which is so important not to give that Panthers offensive life. And they just let them live it up yesterday. So to me, that was definitely what bites in this game. So obviously, there's a lot we can dig into with this, but we're going to move forward a little bit. It was hard to choose a player of the game in this one. It's our Rise and Shine player of the game. Unfortunately, this is the last one that we're going to have to be, not fighting over, I guess, for a guy in this one. So out of this loss, unfortunately, Kyle, but who to you? I know you have someone that really rose to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like quality of play for your snaps, it's hard to argue with Jordan Thomas. He only played 1 snap and he caught a touchdown pass. So he's a new tight end for the Cardinals and isn't getting a lot of playing time yet, and was actually signed to the practice squad initially. So the fact that, he caught a touchdown pass in his very, very limited time on the field was a good sign for him. And maybe that leads to more opportunities for Jordan Thomas, who does have some talent. He caught 4 touchdown passes for the Texans a couple years ago as a rookie. So you're right, Lisa, we're kind of parsing it and trying to find the good parts of this game. And there weren't too many, but Jordan Thomas did a nice job catching that ball. So he was my guy. How about you, Jody?
Just like we predicted, right, Kyle?
Yeah. And without Max Williams, they do need a tight end to step up. So maybe he is the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, just to follow up on that before I go to my player, I think they really miss Max Williams, not only in the passing game, but in the ability to block. So yeah, Kyle, I love your pick. Doesn't get any more efficient. then one snap, one touchdown, right? So congrats, Jordan Thomas. And we're going with another Jordan for my Rise and Shine player. As bad as the defense was, Jordan Hicks had 12 tackles. And if anything, I loved his accountability once again after the game. But look, it wasn't a good day for the defense. And even after watching a number of these plays multiple times, it isn't always clear to tell who's to blame on some of the communication issues. But I think without Buddha back there, with a lot of new players in the secondary, including Charles Washington, who played quite a bit, and I believe he's quite a bit down on the depth chart, they were kind of scrambling, it seemed like. So Jordan Hicks making 12 tackles and accountability as a leader after the game, which we always see from him. I think he's a big reason why this team, as ugly as it looks after losing to the Lions and the Panthers, if you look at the big picture again, it's 2-2 for this Cardinal team. And a guy like Hicks is a guy who brings a lot of hope that they can turn it around because of what he's able to bring to that locker room and what he brings to the field. We all know what he did last year as far as tackling. So in a day of missed tackles, and he missed a few as well, but Jordan Hicks does get some credit from me for making some of those and making this at least a game where, if they could have gotten, back to your point, Lisa, off the field, could have gotten the Panthers off the field on third down, they were kind of in. I mean, the score is a little bit deceiving, 31-21, but I mean, after that, after getting down by 2 scores, they kind of were able to at least put up a few scores of their own. So, they had to keep battling, and Hicks did that for me. Felipe, who are you going with for your Rise and Shine player?
Well, to go back to that one snap, Kyle, well, everyone, do you guys think if I convince Kingsbury to give me at least one snap, you think I can score by chance?
No.
You'd get knocked over.
You're no Jordan Thomas.
No. Maybe, in the slot, I don't have the foot speed anymore after my ankle surgeries. But anyways.
You'd never make it off the line of scrimmage.
I love the confidence, Kyle. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. But,
I like the want to, though. I like that you want the ball and you want to get in there.
Yeah, I run into to Cliff a lot here at the facility. So I might just kind of pitch it to him, hey, I know y'all missing Max. I can block to a certain extent, but I can get out wide, Anyway, going back to my Rise and Shine. Last week, I wouldn't say called out Patrick Peterson, but I said, you need to play to play better. And, he came up with that interception. And the reason I picked that specific interception is, it allowed Kyler Murray to be at the 38-yard line, getting an opportunity to score. And he eventually, they converted on that turnover. And again, it's one of those moments where you start getting closer. You feel like the momentum shifting towards you. And, obviously the defense couldn't get off the field. But hopefully we see more of that, in this upcoming week. We need to see Byron Murphy, come up with some sort of big play, having Patrick Peterson started off this week. Hopefully it has like a triple down effect, because we really need to see that secondary step up this upcoming week. Lisa?
I know watching that play, me and Kyle were like, wait, is Patrick playing safety on that? What's going on here? Which is smart. I mean, obviously they're thin at safety, but we were definitely thinking that was going to obviously get things going and be that impact play that they needed. But it was great to see him. Fun fact, Kyle did call that in our pregame show. He said Patrick Peterson's going to have a pick. So keep doing that, Kyle.
I also said Kyler Murray was going to throw for 300 yards, so let's not talk about that one.
Yes, you did. But I like the positive energy here.
We just use selective facts, right?
Yeah.
Let's just pick certain pregame predictions. But
hey, no one said that we're psychic. We're just he's lucky. He's lucky. So I'm recycling my card. I think I used this a couple weeks ago, but I'm going back to my guy, Chase Edmonds. He had that big third down catch and run leading into that Thomas touchdown to make it 14-7. He also had that touchdown catch at the end of the game that you see here, obviously just kind of making that score look a little prettier or a little better than it was going to look at the end of the game. But he's just someone, as you guys know, brings the energy each and every game, someone that Cliff can rely on, that Kyler Murray seems to really connect with and rely on as well. When his number is called, he makes the most of his opportunity. And then after seeing, Kenyon Drake go down in that fourth quarter, it might be something that this offense will have to lean on him going forward. We'll see the status of Drake later on today when Kingsbury talks to the media. But luckily they have Edmonds, always brings the energy, sure hands. He's great out in space. And just makes those and comes down with those big plays. And it's something we need to see this ground game get going a lot more. I know we've talked a lot about it. Murray really cushions up those stats, but we need to see them take more advantage of that. And that starts up front. We know that, and they weren't really getting that yesterday, but just to have Chase in there, and I might have to keep this card for.
I know I kept my DeAndre Hopkins card.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I might use that again.
Yeah.
I just want to follow up with you guys on Drake in the running game and the fact that, hopefully he's okay, but I've been kind of surprised that he hasn't been more of an impact. I just want to throw that out to you guys, and part of that is the running game in general, but just, how much do you think of the factor that is in the last 2 weeks? Anybody?
Yeah, I feel like, that's a pretty big surprise to me with how effective he was all of last season. And I didn't really expect him to average more than 5 yards per carry again, because that was a really high yardage number. But I still thought it'd be maybe 4.5, just because the way they run the running game, you have Kyler Murray, and he's such a threat that defenses have to watch him too. And sometimes they'll assign a defender to stop Kyler Murray. So just from a pure numbers standpoint, that really helps Kenyon Drake. But you're right, Jody. It hasn't been efficient yet. And now that we're going on 4 games, it's a question about, are they going to get back to that level? Like Lisa said, Kyler Murray's rushing has been phenomenal, and that's really propping up the rushing numbers. But from a running back standpoint, it hasn't been there. And I think it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, something last season we even coined the run rate, because they were just so effective, leading numbers in the franchise that were just record breaking for the Cardinals. But now, yeah, that's something that's definitely been missing in this. But like Kyle said, the threat is Kyler Murray at the end of the day and what he can do with his feet. But I want to see how, yesterday there was a lot of screen passes. There was a lot of the horizontal game. That's not really their MO, with their explosive plays and then getting to the ball quickly and being able to go from there. So I want to see how they move forward here in this next game against the Jets. It's really, truly, now, I wouldn't have called it at the time, but such a critical game, Felipe, for them.
No, of course. And I want to piggyback on that, on the run game. Drake missed a couple of weeks during training camp, and then you kind of consider not having an off season, not having, your offensive line and your running backs in the same room for, a big amount of time. So I think it's going to take a little bit of more weeks for this run game to get going, for everyone to get on the same page. I feel like you kind of mark the box with Kyler Murray in the run game, but now you got to see Chase Edmonds. You got to see that explosiveness that we saw from Drake last year. And I'm a big fantasy guy. I have Kenyon Drake in some of my fantasy leagues, and I know he kind of threw shade at his fantasy owners, talking about trade me, bless someone else, if you don't want me on your team. And in my head, I'm like, bro, come on, you gotta bless me, like just bless your fantasy owners. But you can't put it all on Drake. And hopefully, we saw Melvin Gordon against the Jets rush for 2 touchdowns, over 100 rushing yards. So maybe this upcoming game against the Jets, gets everyone back on the same page. You see this running game be as explosive as we've seen them in the past.
All right, guys, it's my turn to bring home the bacon before we wrap things up. And I'm really just wanting to talk about, starting this season 2-0. Did that juice us up a little bit? Yes. But they raised the expectations. So for us looking at it, we were already ready to write them down 5-0 after they only won 5 games last season. But, expectations were raised. Why? Because we know how dangerous they can be. And right now, I just feel like they're their own kryptonite. They're the ones that are shooting themselves in the foot, making these mistakes that are costly, that are now affecting them. They start 2-0. and now they've lost back-to-back games. So we know that their potential is there. I want to look at it now as a fresh start, a new season. After a quarter of the season is now complete, they move on to the Jets, hit that reset button, and see who this team truly is coming out of this. I think we'll find out next week in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I hate to say it, could be worse, right? 2-2. It's not terrible. It's just the way that it happened. And it's the way that, like you said, Lisa, you build up expectations, which is what everyone wants. I mean, that's what we wanted. We wanted to have high expectations for this team. And that's why yesterday at about, 10 a.m. Arizona time, your jaw's a little bit on the floor. Like, wow, what happened? What happened to this Cardinals team? What's that?
I said at 10:05.
Yeah, I mean, you're just thinking, wow, okay. But it is a long season. Felipe, you tweeted yesterday, I know people are every reaction is really high or really low from kind of the general public, but, it is a long season, like you said. And they have a lot to learn, just like they did last year after 4 games. So, Lisa, I think that's a great perspective in that where are they going to go from here? And they have to respond better than they did after that loss to the Lions, because they didn't appear to really, the number one thing is be ready. And I think that's what we're all going to be looking for against the Jets.
Yeah. As Hicks said, do your job. And we all did our job here today, right?
I didn't have my coffee yet, so I didn't do my job, but I'm going to work on it.
We have the whole day left.
Going back to not having your coffee in the morning, Jody, it kind of messes up the rhythm. Maybe that's what. I know I had 2 cups of cold brew before the game, and I feel like some players maybe didn't have their cold brew in the morning.
Well, like you said, you're ready to get out there, Felipe.
Right?
Suit up.
Coach, pour me in.
I just don't want you to be one of our that bites. I just want to protect you, Felipe.
I might be Kyle. Kyle's rise and shine. It won't snap.
There you go. Positive thinking.
If you don't fall down, I would give you my rise and shine. But
Felipe Corral is gonna be on Kyle's.
All right, you guys, go get your bacon, go get your coffee. Thanks for joining us, everyone, right here on the Morning Scramble. Be sure to join us next week. We'll see you then.